Hi everyone, this is just a quick intro to set the scene for this video. I took part in a special broadcasted event the other day hosted by Apex Racing TV. It was a 2-hour Nurburgring race set as a bit of a warm-up event to the 24-hour race coming up. I don't want to give any spoilers to what happens, but all I can say is that it was a good race. So make yourself a drink, sit back and settle in. Let's get into it.
Hello and welcome to the Apex Racing League Nurburgring 2 hours special event live on Apex Racing TV. My name is TheFatRat and alongside me is Adam Hedgecock with Alex Simpson on the cameras tonight. We're just gridding up for this 2-hour event in store. Adam, preparation this for the 24 hours coming up, one of the trickiest events of the entire calendar. And this is pretty much as close as we can get to it. A 2-hour individual race, which I'm sure will really test these drivers and will be a great warm-up for the top three in that category. Then in the GT4s, we've got Morton, Feltson, and Paul Joslin on the front row of the grid. Simon Rohr Husum as well up in the top three. And in the TCRs, quite a big class today. Alex Neller, Gabriel Ruth, and Harold Stadler in the top 3 places. So we've got 42 drivers, I am saying. They should all grid up in their appropriate classes, which should work all fine. So we should have the GT3s go first, and then the Porsche Cups, and then the GT4s, and then the TCRs. Can be a tricky start here, Adam. It's a pretty narrow chicane to start off.
It is indeed, and it's kind of a weird one, isn't it? The actual Grand Prix loop of the Nürburgring is completely different tarmac to the rest of the track. It's very slippy, very green. I found personally when driving here, if I was making mistakes, it was usually in that section, the bit where you kind of the easiest. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how these guys get on in the first few corners for sure.
So here we are then, Moreno Soka from the pole position. The Mustang pace car pulls into the pits. And 2 hours of racing at the green hell is going to be underway.
Okay, so here we go. Trying to take it a bit cautious going into the first section. It's a 2-hour race, so I know that there's no way that you can win it into the first corner. Luckily, we've got through there okay. Still sitting in second place, which is good. It's just a case now of trying to stay with the leader and try not to get dropped too much.
To one another, it seemed. I think that was Marcel Heyman. He was the big loser out of that. Morton Stegart at the front of the GT4s. He seems to have held on to that position. And in the TCRs further back.
Okay, so got to keep in mind that the tyres will be slightly cold, so I've pushed my brake bias forward a little bit just to give me a bit of stability in these early sections, but even so, the car is pushing around a little bit. So it's a compromise between trying to push enough to stay with the guy ahead, but equally I don't want to make a mistake because this could all be over very quickly. And really my main objective at the moment is just to get away from the guys behind as much as I can, create some space and settle into this race. It's often the way with the Nürburgring. It's basically a track that anything that can happen happens. So easy for people to make mistakes. It's often the car that can get round the cleanest rather than the fastest ends up winning. So yeah, taking it a bit easy, not worrying that the guy ahead is just getting away a little bit. The good thing is we're also creating that gap behind us as well, so it's exactly what we want. And that sun is really blinding. So close the gap slightly there, which is good.
Full start for Heyman. Of course, we saw Heyman get spun round at the first couple of corners. So Heyman going from second place down into 5th position in that Porsche Cup class.
Yeah, great start from Gozzotto, isn't it? We commentate on him in the ARL GT on Sundays, and he's not always the luckiest of drivers. He does have his fair share of bad luck, but he seems to have got a good start this time around. He's leading the Porsches and doing a cracking job, to be fair to him. Let's hope his luck is better.
Fletcher has.
So it definitely feels that us three are breaking away from the rest of the pack. Just keeping the guy ahead of me still in contention, 0.7 seconds, which is not too far away, but I don't really want to get greater than a second, because then I'll potentially lose his slipstream. I've sort of obviously practiced quite a lot on this track for the 4-hour Nurburgring Endurance Series, although that's a different configuration, but obviously most of it is largely the same. And so slight adjustment for this configuration, but ultimately in this car I'm kind of used to doing laps, so fingers crossed we should be on for a good result.
Yellow flag, caution.
So just heard there's a yellow flag down here, so slightly cautious, but I can't see anything, so it may not have actually been a real yellow flag. Definitely haven't seen anything there, so that's good. The worst thing you can have on this track is to come zooming around a corner and then collide with a car that's crashed. It's often very hard for them to sort of get back on the track cleanly. If you're wondering why my sort of video feed in car seems a little bit dark, it's to do with that sunlight that you saw earlier. I don't know if it was a graphical glitch or what, but the sun was literally blinding me in practice and qualifying, so I actually have turned the gamma and brightness down a bit just to try to make it not blind me as much. As I say, could just be a weird graphical glitch, but yeah, apologies for that. Hopefully that doesn't impact the viewing too much. So struggling a bit to keep up with this guy at the moment. I'm sort of hoping my tyres really switch on after the first lap, but closed back up again there, so that's not too bad. Key is I'm just trying not to make a mistake. The dream would be for the guy ahead to make a mistake, and that would make our life a lot easier, but the worst thing that can happen is you just end up crashing, putting a wheel on the grass or anything else. There's that sunlight again. I don't know how that looks on the recording, but that definitely blinds me in VR. But yeah, in the 4-hour Nurburgring race that we recently did, unfortunately, by me just putting a wheel on the grass, that caused us to crash into a barrier, and then took a long time to get towed, so kind of ruined our chances really. That said, I think with the Nurburgring, you don't know what's going to happen to other people, and you do get a chance, so even if you do crash, it's worth continuing. So unfortunately up here, I'm all over him, but the car is topping out in this gear at 236, and it's not really worth changing gears because then the car goes slower, so I think I'm just going to stay behind him while I get blinded by the sun again. But ultimately it's a long race. It's probably easier for me to stay behind him. I can coast a bit. I can actually kind of not push as hard because I can just gain it all back on the straights. And yeah, I can just wait for him to make a mistake. So right now, key objective is to stay with this guy. So this event that I'm taking part in, it's a broadcasted race by a company called Apex Racing TV, and so they're obviously broadcasting it, narrating it, and commentating over it themselves. I don't know how much coverage they'll have of us, just because they will obviously have all sorts of different cars that are taking part, and they might be focusing on the GT3 class, for example, instead of the GT4s, but I guess we'll just have to see after the race. So the tyres are starting to ever so slightly feel like they're starting to grip up, but obviously it is still a little bit sketchy. They don't really come full grip until at least a lap, maybe even more. So feeling fairly comfortable behind this guy at the moment. We've dropped the car behind us to 2.6 seconds behind. So that's a good sign. Ooh, bit of understeer there.
Don't give him any respite.
So that understeer was probably due to tyres. And he's actually getting away from us ever so slightly now.
The gap in front is now 1.0.
Yeah, unfortunately he's just opened the gap above a second, so I don't know how much slipstream we're going to get off him here. It's probably not the end of the world if he completely gets away from us, because lots of things can happen in this race, but I'd like to close the gap if possible. For anybody that's not aware, this is a 2-hour race, so we will be doing pit stops, and it's multi-class, so we're obviously racing the GT4s, but other people will be racing in the other classes, such as the GT3 class, which is the quickest, the Porsche GT3 class, which is the blue one, and then there's the GT4s, and then finally the TCRs, which are the purple class. So got in his slipstream quite nicely there. We've closed the gap a bit, which is good. So I'll settle in again behind him and just try to keep doing what I'm doing. So now that the car is starting to grip a bit better, I've actually changed the brake bias. It's not pushing forward anymore. It should just give us a little bit more turn in when we need it.
Alright Paul, stay close. Wait for him to make a mistake.
So I've put in enough fuel into the car to roughly get us to, I think it's about 7 laps, which should be about an hour, more or less. Then we're going to pit, and then we're going to try to fill it up again with the same amount of fuel, so about 96 litres, and go for the other hour. I figured 2 stints of 7 laps should keep our tyres quite fresh and give us quite a good strategy to go quite quick. The only risk with this is that it might end up putting us into the traffic of the slower cars, so that's something we've definitely got to watch out for. But I've got high hopes that that strategy should help. We don't know what the guy ahead's doing. Maybe he's going long, full tank of fuel, and trying to get all, I think, 10 or so laps out of his tyres. So yeah, hopefully our strategy pays off over the long run. We're currently 0.7 seconds behind him, but the next guy's 4.6 behind us.
And then top of the GT4s, Morton, Sturgard, Feltson, only 6 tenths of a second ahead of Paul Josling currently. I believe those two have stayed in line. In fact, there's been barely any change. Only Jarman gets past Melichar is the only changes in that GT4 class so far. But Sturgard, Feltson very much being kept honest right now.
There's got to be a chance here. Keep harrying him.
Okay, so the good thing is we're still in contention with him. I don't feel that I'm completely flat out, or rather I feel like I've got a little bit in reserve, so hoping that I can just stay behind him and wait for him to make a mistake. He does seem to make a couple of small little mistakes here and there, so it'll only take him going a little bit wide or something like that, and then yeah, we should be able to just get past him. Otherwise I think we'll stay behind him for now, and then if he seems to be really slowing us up, then obviously we can try to get a pass. But overtaking could give us more risk.
Got past so far any of the GT4s? I don't think so. I think they've quite been able to, well actually maybe they have. Here is Nella at the front of them, and they are coming up to the back of the GT4s, which will undoubtedly be an issue on the for the 24 hours. And they are edging closer as Nella runs a little bit wide. That is very close to the wall, and well, already his rival, Reus, has used one of its 9 lives, and Well, these guys using their feline instincts once again there.
But after 29 minutes, closes at about 1 hour 19 minutes.
Okay, so behind him through the foxhole. I've covered this track quite extensively in my new track guide video that came out last week. I can sort of show the tips and tricks that I do in this car with this track. So feel pretty comfortable right now. Feel like we can probably just stay with him. Might even just get him on the pit strategy, being able to stop kind of early in him with less fuel. We might just be able to kind of get the overtake done that way, but for now let's just stay with him and wait for him to start really holding us up. Slight mistake there, just hitting that inside curb.
So a little bit of a clarification in terms of the colours that we're seeing at the moment. So as you can see at the top of your screen, the GT3 cars, they're all in yellow, and then the Porsche Cup in the blue, the GT4s in the red, and the TCRs in the purple. They're all different classes, so they're not racing against one another. But some of them, at least the Porsche Cups and the GT4s and the Audis TCRs are quite evenly matched on pace, but they're not racing against one another.
So I'm definitely feeling that I'm quicker than him. I can probably get away from him if I can get past. But on the other hand, staying behind him is probably less risk. So we'll see. Maybe I'll try to get past him on this section.
Okay, Paul, keep on the pressure. He'll make a mistake.
But just don't have the top end to get past him right now. It'd be nice to get past just because I think my tyres are going to really, really come onto their own on the next lap. I think lap 3 to say 5 or 6 will be when my tyres are at their best. And then, as I sort of said, I plan to pit probably around lap 7, just before the tyres really, really start giving out. So, yeah, I think I'll probably try to get past them at some point soon. Although at this section of the track there's not really anywhere you can actually overtake easily. So it may even be the case that I just have to stay behind him all the way to Dottingerhoe, which is the long straight at the back of the track. So quite a way to go until we get there. You never know, he might make a mistake, so I think we just got to hang on, sit behind him, make sure that we don't make any mistakes.
Keep him in your sights, force the mistake.
Slightly pressure him here, but then obviously leave space in case he does make a mistake. So he pushed a little bit wide there, which is a good sign that he's just under a bit of pressure. So yeah, let's just keep pressuring him a little bit and see what happens. Just not quite there. There's no way that I'm going to get past through a section like this, so we're too evenly matched.
His way through. It's so tight and twisty here. I mean, it goes without saying. You can see the track map, and I'm sure everyone's familiar with the track. Getting past any kind of car here is particularly difficult, and yeah, we just saw that not enough caution was taken.
Yeah, you think they're going to have to do that for 24 hours and at night as well,
yeah.
Which will be tricky. The headlights are a bit better than they were 12 months ago. I remember when night first came out for all the cars, the day-night transitions, and everyone realised, hang on, these headlights don't really work. And
this is definitely the place where the opportunity is going to come. So I've just got to get a really, really good exit out of here and hopefully carry it onto the straight and use his draft just to get past him. So we've both exited about the same speed, but it's a long straight and I'm in his toe, so just hoping that it starts closing the gap.
Okay, Paul, keep Adam under pressure. He'll make a mistake.
And here it comes. So the question is he going to fight it or is he just going to let me go through? It looks like he's just letting me go, which is probably the best option for him. He can now tuck in behind us, and then
Sweet pass, mate.
he can then do a bit of lift and coast and saving his tyres as well.
Hit stop now. So, in terms of strategy, how much do you know about the strategy in the GT3s? Are we thinking they can one-stop this one, Adam? Because I'm just thinking, if it's a two-stop, coming into the pits really early on is actually going to cost you that much time because you'll still have to do two stops. Do we think that you can get to the hour mark in these GT3 cars, or do you think actually you could perhaps go even further?
It's been a while since I've done a GT3 strategy, but if I recall, it can range, depending on the track, can range from anywhere from 45 minutes to about an hour. So I'm thinking they're going to have to do two-stop based on just that alone, but if you get if it's really close, I mean you can get an awful lot of fuel back from drafting here, so it might be, some might try one. If they do, it'll be amazing, but I'm pretty sure we're going to see a two-stop for the GT3s.
Yeah, I'm just thinking back to Sunday in the SimRacers World GT Championship. Of course, we saw 5 stops, and it was about a 5-hour 50 race, 5-hour 40 race. So I think that the fuel was going just under an hour.
Okay, so just trying to push, try to open this gap up. It's currently 0.7 to the guy behind. Ultimately, I want to get that gap, ideally to 2 seconds if I can. Just don't want him to be able to use any of the draft or tow to keep up with me on the straights. That said, obviously I don't want to crash the car either, so we'll have to see how he responds, whether he can keep up or whether he just lets me go knowing that it's a long race and he needs to save his tyres as well. So it looks like he went ever so slightly wide there. Don't know if that's going to give us a bit of a chance to open up the gap. Open that gap to about 1.1, so let's see if we can get a good exit out here and open it even further. This corner is a perfect one for carrying speed through if you can get it right, especially when the tyres are gripping like they are now. So yeah, the gap's up to about 1.4 now. That's excellent. Just keep pushing this hard. Obviously don't want to make a mistake, but I have practiced quite a lot around this now, and I do have my track guide as well that kind of shows all the tips and tricks in this car on this track, so check that out if you haven't already. Okay, gaps up to 1.6. Ultimately, yeah, I could back off a bit, but he might be on a completely different strategy than me. And yeah, my strategy is kind of based around pushing pretty hard for 7 laps on these tyres, then getting new tyres. So I should probably not back off too much, just in case his strategy going longer on a set or maybe even short on a set of tyres catches me out. So since the car feels good at the moment, I'm just going to keep pushing, but obviously I don't want to make a mistake. Gap's now up to 2.4, so yeah, not bad. Nice healthy gap. Obviously could all be over with one little mistake, but at the same time you've got to push a bit. And speaking of which, I sort of right out to the edge there, right onto the edge of the curb, which probably a little bit risky. With the tire model in this game, if you go on the grass you can basically slide like you're on ice. So one little tyre a little bit too wide and I'd end up in that barrier.
The gap behind is now 2.0.
So interestingly, he has actually closed the gap a little bit in that section. So need to keep an eye on that because we were pulling away, and perhaps he's just responding by actually realising that he needs to push a bit as well.
Front right. I just wonder if he's maybe run a corner a little bit too wide and just grazed the outside arm co, which is so easily done here. So easily done.
I have a move between Husum and Grinbergas, and Grinbergas has got ahead. There we are. So that is that third in the yeah, it is third in the GT4s, which by the way is a very nice car to drive. I was very much enjoying driving Snetterton, which is my local circuit. I am a Norfolk resident, and so Snetterton is only about 20 miles down the road. And I was really liking it, and then I found a very scary button, which is called the assist button, which has the ABS, traction control, and stability control all mixed into one. And I turned it down, and all of a sudden my lovely GT4 wasn't quite as lovely again, because all of a sudden you actually have to have talent to drive it in a straight line, which I lack in abundance.
So pulling the gap out to 2.7 now, although once again going slightly wide, perhaps pushing a little bit too hard, but I feel like I've got good control of the car at the moment, so yeah, I've got to make the most of these tyres while they're good. But yeah, don't want to make a mistake. Ultimately, you never know what's going to happen. He might make a mistake as well, so it's all to play for at the end of the day. You've just got to race your own race. And I think one of the things I find personally is that actually backing off sometimes can actually make it more tricky to drive, because you have certain braking points and turning points. And actually as soon as you back off, that can actually set you off your flow, and yeah, you can coast into a corner and end up in the barrier just as easy as going too fast. Okay, trying to carry as much speed as we can onto this main straight. The gap now is about 2.5 behind, so he has actually gained about 0.2 in that last section. So still got to keep an eye on it. It's not a done deal at the moment, and as I say, you don't know what's going to happen with the pit strategies or traffic coming up. So that was hooked up pretty well through there, and I'd imagine I'll pull away a little bit more from him after that. Now just need to make sure that I nail the first corner, which is quite a tricky one actually. You don't want to push too wide
0.
So I've just seen that it looks like third place has changed position. I don't know when that happened, but Gustus looks like he's now in third in the GT4s. So keep an eye on him, see if he gets any closer to me and the other guy. Ultimately, even though I've pulled 3.2 away from the guy in second place, Gustus is still about 10 seconds behind, and if I make one little mistake, basically both of them will go past. So I'm noticing that I'm ever so slightly pulling away from the guy behind, and then he's gaining a bit, and then I'm pulling away a little bit, and he's gaining a bit. So I've got to watch out for that, especially as my tyres start to go off in a few laps time. He might be able to just close the gap quite easy. Considering we're already 30 minutes into this race, it's actually still quite close in the GT4 class. Everybody's relatively near to each other, and yeah, could change again quite easily. So gap behind back down to 3 seconds again, so closed up a little bit again. Just got to keep an eye on that, try to extend this lead a bit. As I say, they might be on a completely different strategy, so our strategy is to go to about lap 7 or 8, and yeah, as such we need to be doing quick laps right now, and we need to be getting the gap extended as much as possible.
On the last lap for some reason. Took a lot of fuel as well to play, 42.5 seconds, so I think probably took tyres as well. And he's back.
So I personally hate this corner here. It's where I messed up the other day in the Nurburgring endurance race. Just put the tyres slightly on the grass and then got on the brakes, and unfortunately you're going so quickly that if you lose control you can't stop the car before you hit the wall. So yeah, always try to take it a bit easy through it now. Kind of learnt my lesson. As said, there's so many corners on this track that's just like that. You can see how close these barriers are. Any slight wrong move and it's over immediately. Okay, so the gap behind is about 4 seconds, but interestingly Gustus is still only about 10 seconds behind that, so yeah, it's definitely not a safe position to be in at the moment.
1 second.
Onto the GT4s. Paul Joslin got a 4-second lead over Morton Xenogenesis. There he is. Kind of reminds me of the Apex livery, that one a little bit. Very nice. And then Gustus Grinbergus in third, with a healthy lead himself, 3 seconds over Simon Ruahusin behind him.
Okay, safely through another corner. That's another place where you can sometimes make a pretty bad mistake. Just try to get a good exit out here. Push a little bit wide, but luckily you can kind of cope with it on that corner because it's so long. So we're looking probably to do another 3 to 4 laps on current fuel. Pit around lap 7 or 8. Get new tyres, and then go for another sprint to the end of the race. Don't know what strategy anybody else is on, so that's kind of our current strategy. It kind of helps because it's a bit of a if in doubt flat out strategy, which is kind of what I like to do. Always pushing a little bit wide there, just got to be a little bit careful. What I'm finding quite interesting is I'm not completely leaving the guys behind me behind. They're still basically about the same distance from me, which means that they're probably matching my pace quite closely. So I might have to just try to push a little bit harder than I am. Although that pushed out quite wide, so it suggests my tyres might already slightly be going. And it's only lap 3 or 4, so yeah, kind of pushing quite hard, hoping the tyres don't just drop off completely, then I'll be totally in trouble. This is always tricky, you've got to try to carry as much speed in, but it's quite bumpy. Oh, slightly on the grass, and I've... right, okay, that's not good. I've hit the barrier, so let's just get it back onto the road. And definitely my steering is broken. And here comes Morton in second place. So he's going to go past. I think I'm going to have to pit for repairs. I think luckily they probably give us one quick repair. So question is, if I pit now and I take full fuel, can I get to the end of the race? Can I do a super long stint? So where I was planning on doing 2 stints of about an hour, about 7 laps, can I fill up completely and make it to the end of the race? Because obviously I've lost time anyway, but I'm thinking that's my only chance of salvaging this. It's just get in the pits, get the car repaired, and fill up with as much fuel as possible. Right. Make sure I don't get a stop go. So Augustus has just gone past me. I think everybody's going to go past me, to be honest. Right. Let's just take full fuel. So another GT4 has gone past. I just don't know whether this is going to give me enough laps or not. I think it's going to be close. I'm just not 100% sure. If I feel like the full tank only does about, I don't know, 1 hour 15, and we've got about 1 hour 22 in the race. I could be wrong about that. I might have to do some lift and coast. Definitely to pay attention. So I think we might be last now in the GT4s. And in the middle of the TCRs now, which is not great either.
You're catching the slower cars.
Oh well, we've just got to change strategy and see what we can do.
You got to bounce in your seat. That's how you gain those extra speeds. It's an odd one. It all depends on when it hits. When it bounces, you lose a little bit. When it, like just before it kind of over revs, and you gain a little bit. It's really awkward to manage, to be honest with you.
It certainly helped out Stadler.
So situation definitely isn't ideal. Not sure if we've got enough fuel to get to the end, which means we might have to stop again. If we don't need to stop, it's still going to be a long stint, so I don't know if the tyres will make it to the end, and we've got to deal with all the traffic ahead. So probably not the best situation, but you know that anything can happen, and it usually does, so we've just got to make the most of it, I think. The good news is we've got fast repairs, so yeah, basically there was one fast repair you could use, and if you think about where that accident happened, that was probably the best place that accident could have happened. So it was right on the straight, so it wasn't too far to get back to the pits. We've definitely lost time, but I just don't know how much time and what effect that's going to have once everybody else has done their pit stops. So yeah, I guess settle back in, try to just set good laps, obviously not push too hard, and yeah, just see where we can end up. I think the interesting bit will be once everybody else pits, what position does that put us in on the track? So the next cars up the road are two TCR class cars, about 10 seconds ahead. Not the easiest cars to get past, ultimately. And yeah, hopefully if we can catch them up quickly, they'll just let us through. But we'll obviously have to get past them, and then I guess potentially the whole of the GT4 field as well. We might be able to pass some people on the pit stop though, so if I can just set some good lap times now, that might actually help us out. So it looks like I've got a GT3 class car coming up behind.
There's a faster car approaching.
He's blue, which means that he's actually lapped. So got to be careful, because that probably means he's not that good. I could be wrong about that. Maybe he just had a lot of damage and he needs to get the car repaired. But yeah, just need to make sure that he doesn't take us out as he comes past. Yeah, to be honest, I just thought it was best just to let him through. The last thing we want, now that we've used our fast repair, is any more damage. And in this section of the track, it'd take forever to get back to the pits anyway. So yeah, sometimes you just have to accept the fact you're going to lose some time, and yeah, back off to let them through. So the car doesn't feel too bad. Obviously, I'm out on fresh tyres, so a little bit cold and not gripping as well, but I'm hoping that in a lap or two we can just get into a really good rhythm. One of the challenges with this strategy will be trying to make the tyres last the whole amount of time. As I said earlier, I was sort of only banking on it lasting about 7 laps, so probably need to slightly take a different pace, slightly more reserves. think ultimately if we do have enough fuel to get to the end, we're probably not in a terrible position. I think we'll be able to bring it back into contention a little bit at least. But yeah, if we are a lap or two short on fuel, then that's probably going to ruin our race, because we'd have to do a splash and a dash right at the end, and yeah, not ideal situation to be in then. So gaining on the TCR up ahead quite quickly. He was about 10 seconds ahead, he's now about 7. So yeah, we'll just keep pushing and hope that when we catch them, they don't end up holding us up at all. Obviously, all cars will probably have to deal with traffic at some point during the race, so
Okay, Paul, you're in the sky.
it probably doesn't matter.
20 seconds.
God. I was just actually thinking as I was going through that section, I've got to take it easy. I actually slightly backed off, yet still made a mistake through there. I think I'll avoid that inner curb from now on. I seem to have trouble every time I hit it. So at the end of the day, this is good practice. I'm not running the Nurburgring 24-hour this year, but I do plan on running the Nurburgring Endurance Series again, and I'm thinking I might actually run it a solo attempt next time. Not that there was any issue with my co-driver Chris, he's really good. I just felt like I was under a lot of pressure not to let him down. I think that made me make mistakes that I wouldn't have done if it was just me having fun. So yeah, I'll try the full 4 hours all on my own, which will be double this length. So far it hasn't boded well, the fact that I've made a mistake in the first 3 or 4 laps. Don't know how I'm going to make it the whole 4 hours, but I think I'll give it a go, as long as I practice enough and yeah, just take it a bit easy, no pressure, just it is what it is, see where we can end up. Kind of feel like I've definitely got the pace to win something like that. But obviously my issue at the moment is consistency and try not to make mistakes. When me and Chris did the last 4-hour race, we found that the people that actually won it were almost like 10 seconds a lap slower than us. So it just shows you on this track, it definitely isn't about who can go the quickest. It's usually a case of who can get round the cleanest and avoid any accidents. So yeah, I probably do the wrong strategy by going flat out, but I can't really help it, it's just who I am. So just got sign visibly of the 2 TCRs, down to 3.5 behind them. So yeah, I'm going to have to deal with overtaking these guys quite shortly, I think, and I just hope that I don't get any trouble when I go past. Also noticing on my relatives now, I can actually see a GT4 up ahead. John, he's 16 seconds ahead. So considering I've had a pit stop, if, and that's a big if, I don't need to pit again, then that's actually a good sign. It means that I should be able to get past him even on the pit stop. Okay, looks like those 2 TCRs are having a bit of a battle, so hopefully I'm not going to have a problem getting past them. There's nothing worse than when 2 cars are battling and you're trying to find a way through.
there's going to be something that happens in that TCR class. I don't see how it can possibly be that serene for Nellaway gradually opens up the gap. I think something's going to happen between those two, but on that last lap he was exactly 1 second faster, so it's just edging it out at the moment. 50 minutes into this race, or coming up to 50 minutes into this race now. Has there been a change in the Grinbergas? Is that a change for the lead in the GT4s?
I want to say yes.
It is. Yep, they did change on this lap. Yep.
Okay, so I'm being a bit held up now by these TCRs. I need to try to find a way past. Don't really want to do it on the twisty section, so I'm going to try to carry as much speed out of this as possible. Yeah, so hopefully I can just get a bit of a run on him.
Left side.
I don't know if I can get both of them, but that would be the definite ideal here.
Clear left. Car left.
And I think I'm just about past, just need to be a bit careful now. It almost looked like he was trying to go in the back of me or fight me. I don't know if he's just gone defensive on the car behind or whether he's trying to get past me there, but
The gap ahead is now
looks
13
like I've got
seconds.
through. So now we're on to chasing the GT4 car that is 13 seconds ahead of me up the road. So that actually went quite well. Appreciate those guys not fighting me too much. Looks like they're having their own battle. So yeah, they can continue with that and we can get down the road chasing the next car along. So looks like I'm gaining on the GT4 pretty quickly. It was 13 seconds a second ago, now it's 12. So hopefully I should be able to reel him in quite fast.
The formation lap, to be fair, but that is still 1 or 2 laps, and it's fair to say you could have well perhaps got a couple of incidents which meant that you couldn't set a time in qualifying. So maybe just showing what his real pace is, and might have the ability now to start pulling away for the lead. But there's concern at every corner round this track, if we haven't already learned today.
Okay, down to about 11 seconds. So really taking lots of time out of this guy. Don't know where I am in respect to the rest of the pack of GT4s. Can only see as far as the relative board that is in my car. But I can only do what I can do, which is just put in quick time, try to keep it clean, not make mistakes, and yeah, just hope that if I can make it to the end on one stop, then I should be able to fight with them perhaps later on in the race. I don't know when other people will be pitting. My plan originally was about an hour in. We're sort of coming up to the hour mark.
The gap in front is now 10
It may be the
seconds.
case that people are going long, or it may be the case people are going short, so don't really know what their strategies will be. I just need to focus on what I can do. And actually right now, without any GT3 class cars around me, I've just got clear track, so I can just focus on getting a good consistent lap time in and close to the gap as much as possible, really. So now about 9.5 behind John up ahead. So yeah, just in this lap alone we've taken already like 4 seconds out of him. So I think at this pace we should probably be able to be quite close to him by the end of the lap, I think. It looks also like he might actually have a TCR up ahead of him. That might obviously be slowing down slightly because he might not be able to get past them. So yeah, it's good for us. Currently running 7th, so 6th place would be better than 7th for sure. It's funny, when I was making my track guide video the other day, I found that I was sort of automatically able to pause it roughly where I braked. It's almost like you get so used to doing a lap after lap that you actually could just see your braking point. When you're not even driving, you just see it and you're just like, right, going to brake there, going to turn in like this. It all becomes completely automatic. You kind of get into a slight flow state with it all, really.
Bob, you're gaining on the guy in front. The gap is 7.8 seconds.
So the gap's down to 7 seconds now. Obviously we've got the main straight coming up, so probably won't be able to gain a lot on them through that section. Trying to be a bit careful through this section after making that mistake earlier. So I think it would be interesting to know what strategy the other cars are on. I think it'll all base itself on that, plus whether we can make it to the end. Just had a quick look at the estimated laps left. I think it's pretty close. I don't think you'd be able to do another lap if I do make it to the end. It's going to be very, very short on fuel across the line, I think.
The car ahead's pitting.
So, just got told by my crew chief that the car ahead has just
P6.
pitted, so I think we're actually up to P6 now. So that guy obviously did a quite an early stop. And now we've got 2 TCRs coming up. So we can only really do what we can do, just focus on our own race, just keep getting lap times in, try to keep the pace up. Okay, so I can see one TCR, I think I can see the other one just
Gaining
leaving.
on the guy in front. The gap is 14 seconds.
So interestingly, my tyres still feel pretty good, to be honest, which is good because they've got to go a long way. So I'm hoping they hold on, because even if we do make it in the fuel, if the tyres are completely dropped off, then yeah, we're going to make a mistake and crash potentially. So try to keep that in mind, try not to push too hard everywhere. Okay, reeling in this TCR guy quite quickly. It's about 3.5 seconds ahead now.
Slower car ahead. This guy's racing us for position. Don't expect a blue flag.
It's actually their second in-class driver, so he will definitely not want to give up the position easily, I think. So it's still telling me that I'm 7th, but I know that we overtook that John guy in the pits, so I think it'll update next lap. So we're actually in 6th right now. 3 seconds to the TCR up ahead. Alright, not 100% sure when I'm going to get past this guy.
Okay, Paul, you're gaining on the guy in front. The gap is 11 seconds.
There's not a lot of straights coming up, to be honest. Guessing I might have to take him on the uphill section. Guess it depends how quickly I catch him. One can hope that he sees me coming and just lets me through. That would be the optimum.
Still, Grinbergas out at the head in the GT4s at the moment. In fact, actually, shall we just see Costa at the...
Okay, so right behind the guy now. Might be able to get him just going into the section near Adenau Bridge. So if we can gain him a bit here, we can probably close the gap into the hairpin. If I can get a good exit out there, that's a slight straight, that would be a good place to go. So let's get a good exit out here. Whether we've got the pace, I'm not sure. Quite far away from him right now, so I need him to give it up for me. It doesn't look like he's done it. Ooh, that's actually blocked me quite badly. See if we can get a good exit out of here and take him on the next straight. Just not quite the pace.
I think you'll get to the end, but we're not sure.
I could probably...
Clear left.
I was thinking maybe try to stick it up the inside into this corner, but now I'm just thinking let's get a good exit out of here and hopefully take him on this hill.
Left side. Hold your line.
He's definitely not giving it to me, is he?
Still there. Still there. He's still there. Clear left. You're gaining on this guy. The gap's now 9.4 seconds.
I was going to say that's actually really risky, just because if the car pushes a little bit too wide onto that grass, that would have been race over. So it's slightly annoying that he sort of made us go really the hard way round, find the gap, which obviously is in his right to do. With a quicker class car, we should really be finding the space, but yeah, didn't really work out too well, especially when he made me really slow in the middle of the apex when I tried to carry the speed out. So up the road we've got Zach Jama, or Yama, Jama, don't know how you say that. So he's 7.7 seconds up ahead. So hopefully we can just close on him now on this bit of track. Looking ahead of that, there's Linden that's in the GT4 that's about 44 seconds up the road. So quite far away, but I presume none of them have pitted yet, so we've got to see what happens when everybody starts pitting, and then see if we can make it to the end of the race with the amount of fuel we've got. Ooh, slightly pushed a bit wide there, so tyres are definitely starting to go a little bit, but hopefully they'll hang on. Okay, down to about 6 seconds behind the next GT4. Again, loads through that section on the GT4 up ahead, so It's now almost down to 4 seconds ahead. So he was definitely losing a lot of time through that area there.
Okay, Paul, you're in this guy in. The gap's now 4.5. The leader is pitting now.
So I think I just got a message saying the leader is pitting now. I don't know who that is. Whether it's even somebody in our class or not. So I guess that might be Gustus pitting. So let's see what happens once he gets out of the pit. I don't know whether we'll even be anywhere near him, to be honest.
It's certainly a very nice feeling that gave me. A few more drivers coming into the pit. So, Grinbergas, who was he fighting at? So, Sturgart then stayed out. And, oh, sorry, no. So, Sturgart pitted, I believe, on the last lap. Unfortunately, we don't have information on how long his pit stop was. Or maybe he did. No, sorry, I'm getting very confused. So, he didn't pit, did Sturgart. I'm just getting very confused with the length of this track. It's doing crazy stuff to my brain. So, still, Sturgart is yet to pit.
Right, so I think Lyndon and Zach pitted there. So we've got past them on the pits in the GT4s, and now we've got the leader of the TCR up ahead. Whether he's going to fight me as hard as the last guy did, I don't know. And then it actually looks like Gustus, who has pitted, is about 17.5 seconds up the road ahead of that. So yeah, we've got to just keep pushing and see what happens. Like, the ideal situation would have been that with our strategy, Gustus was right in front of us after he pitted, but yeah, we've got about 17 seconds to make up the difference by the looks of it. Oof, just pushing slightly wide there.
The gap's now 16 seconds.
So it's a shame. It would have been nice to have got past this TCR on the GP circuit section, or the straight. And now we're going to be behind him in the Nordschleife section, which is pretty hard to get past people, really. And yeah, we've just caught him right up, so I hope this isn't going to hold us up too much. Right, so definitely holding us up a little bit at the moment. Obviously, there's nowhere he could even get out of the way right now, so I don't think he's going to do that. Yeah, not ideal. It's just blocking us. So I'll try to get a good exit out of here, but unfortunately, yeah, he was right in the middle of the apex, so couldn't really sweep through without taking him out, but got a bit of a run. He sort of pushed me to the inside, so I'm definitely not on the optimum line. I'm going to try to take this a bit easy just so I don't make a mistake. And he's nearly crashing to the back of me, to be honest. So I'm actually going to go defensive here. I don't know if he was trying to get back past me. Ultimately, I am quicker than him, so yeah, he should definitely back off a bit. But it's good to be passed. Now we just focus on catching the next guy. Oh, I've just seen in my mirror he's actually made a mistake and crashed. Oh. So looks like maybe he was pushing a little bit too hard, and he's actually kind of basically paid the price for it by trying to keep up with me, or I don't know, trying to fight me for position, even though we're in a completely different class. And yeah, he's put it into the wall. So that's not a good idea for him, because he's probably ruined his race. I don't know how much damage he'll have from that, but it's a long way back round to the pits from here. So it'll be interesting actually just looking at the relatives to see whether Gabriel gets past Alex in a second. Because I can't imagine that car's too drivable. So for us, we've got Gustus 16.5 just ahead of us. So I think we'll just keep doing what we're doing. So up ahead, beyond Gustus, I can see Simon, who's 46 seconds ahead, but I'd imagine hasn't pitted yet. So we'll have to see where that ends up once he's pitted.
Well, getting on the guy in front, the gap is 16 seconds.
Also just noticed behind actually, Gabriel has now got past Alex, so his accident has definitely cost him that position. I think that the deciding factor for us is just going to be whether we've got enough fuel to get to the end of the race. I think where we are right now, we might actually be on the cards for a podium, like top 3 maybe, if we can make it to the end. But yeah, I think it will all depend on the tyres lasting, the fuel, and yeah, just basically what else happens during this race.
I believe we've got a change for the lead in the TCRs. Problems for Nella. Yeah, the front left of his car's all scuffed up, and Roos has taken the lead in the class. That's out of nowhere, really. Nella was looking good. You'll see a replay of it.
Lost 8 seconds because of this.
He's coming up the hill. This is a really tricky braking zone to get right. Oh, he's just gone out onto the grass. How many times we've seen that this evening? Just a wheel dipped onto the grass. Trouble is with the cars that are using the new tyre model. The moment you go onto the grass, it's like going on ice, and it's just spat him out the opposite side of the car, opposite side of the track. I do wonder if he's got any steering damage with that.
Right, so Gustus 16 seconds up the road. Relatively clear track. I think it's time to get on it and see how much we can gain on him. I'm fairly sure Simon will be pitting, so I don't know where that will leave him when he pits. And then we've basically got Morton, who still needs to pit, but I don't know how far ahead he is. So I do like this car on this track. Once you settle into it, it's pretty nice and easy to drive. I am tempted though at some point to get one of the GT3 cars. So I used to race the Ferrari around here, but I think it's a little bit sketchy. I know it's a lot of people use the BMW Z4 or the Merc. I think it's a lot more stable. But yeah, maybe try the Z4 around here or something. Be kind of cool to compete in the top class just because you get more coverage. But for now, I'm quite happy focusing on the GT4. It's a car that I kind of know quite well and getting quite used to at the moment, so it should be good. So tyres are still feeling sort of okay to me. Obviously they've got a long way on this fuel, so we'll see how they get on. I think it's helped quite a lot that the track temps have actually been quite low. It's only 20 degrees C on the track at the moment, so that probably helps with the tyre wear. So I feel like I'm slightly down on top end along here. Don't know if I've got some damage from somewhere. It doesn't quite quite feel as quick as it did at the start of the race.
The gap in front is now 16 seconds.
But then again, maybe I'm just imagining that.
That's good consistency, keep it up.
Okay, so at the moment, got quite a clear track around me, to be honest, which is a good thing. I can see all the GT4s up ahead of me, and yeah, other than a Porsche GT3 behind me, it's relatively clear. So it's showing Simon 43 seconds ahead, and Morton over a minute ahead. So the question is, where are they all going to be when they pit? We know that Gustus has pitted and he's 16.6 ahead, so I don't know whether they'll be in front of him or behind him, but from our perspective we've just got to keep pushing as hard as we can.
The track temp's increasing, it's now 21 Celsius.
I think the fact that these guys are still out there racing on their initial fuel is actually a good sign for me. My concern was, could this car go to the end on the full tank of fuel when I pitted? And yeah, the fact that they're still out there, we're coming up to 1 hour 15. I think, if I remember correctly, when I had to pit, I had about 1 hour 25 left. Could be wrong about that, but yeah, that's kind of what we're needing out of this car, both in tyres and fuel. So yeah, if they can do it, then we should be able to do it, but I think it's going to still be close. We'll have to see as we get closer towards the end of the race. So I find in the 4-hour races that we have in the Nurburgring Endurance Series is that you actually have the MX-5s to deal with as well. So in this, the slowest is the TCRs, but they're still pretty quick. Other than that, we're in the slower class, and then you've got the Porsche GT3s and the GT3 class cars. In the 4-hour, you actually have the MX-5s, and they're really, really slow compared to you. So it makes it really, really hard. You're constantly catching them up and overtaking them. It just makes it a bit risky. And then obviously you have to deal with overtaking those slower cars when you're also dealing with the quicker GT3 classes coming by. So I think we've been quite lucky, really, with the amount of traffic that we've had to deal with. It hasn't been too bad. I think a few GT3 class cars possibly crashed and retired quite early on, and yeah, basically so far we haven't dealt with too much traffic. So even though I'm pushing pretty hard, I'm still about 16 seconds to Gustus, so his pace is pretty good. I'm kind of hoping that as my fuel gets lower, my pace will get quicker, and then potentially as his tyres get worn out, his pace might get a bit slower. Might be able to gain on him. But it'll be interesting to see, once everybody's pitted, where everybody's positioned. Because currently we don't really know with Simon whether he's going to be in front or behind us. And with Morton, whether he's going to be in front or behind Gustus, and ultimately where he's going to be relative to us. So tyres slightly not gripping quite as well there. I tried to get on the apex and it's just pushed out wide, so definitely noticing tyres starting to wear out a bit. I'm still hoping that they can do the whole session and we don't end up having an accident based on the tyres falling off, but we'll have to wait and see, I think. At the moment it feels like we're matching Gustus's pace. We've actually gained a bit on Morton and we've gained quite a lot on Simon. In fact though, we just gained a bit on Gustus, although
16 seconds.
that could be the relatives just adjusting as we're going around the track. So it actually feels like we're the quickest out of all 4 cars. So it'll be interesting to see where people end up after the pit stop and what happens towards the end of the race. So Gustus is down to about 15 seconds now. So we're definitely gaining on him, and we've definitely gained on the others, so I think this race could be on. Providing our tyres last and we have enough fuel, there could be a real chance here. It's definitely understeering a bit through there, so it'll be interesting to see how much life we have with the tyres towards the end. Maybe the fact that we catch them and then the tyres fall off just at the end and we don't really get a chance, but I think we just got to see what we can do. Good exit out of here, carry the speed down the straight.
Lead car's pitting.
Okay, interestingly I've just heard that the lead car, which is Morton, has just been into the pits.
Could be quite close between him and Grimbergas when he comes back out on track. 28 seconds stationary was Grimbergas, and actually they're taking tyres. Tyres take different times, of course, in different cars. So for example the MP4-30 will take you 3.5 seconds. I believe though all the GT3s are pretty much 26 seconds for everyone. So I think the length of the pit stop is basically decided by how long you take tyres for, or however long the tyres take. I don't think fuel is too much of a factor. Stuttgart is now getting back away, 28.8 stationary, so back into the lead will go Grimbergas, but only just.
So I think Simon pitted as well, which means that we should be past Simon now, I think.
Well, keep doing what you're doing. This is spot on.
So I
P3.
think
Times
we're
are good
up
in
to
all 3
third,
sectors.
and yeah, basically we got Morton just up ahead. I think he's pitted and now he's out, so ultimately we've got Gustus only 13 seconds ahead, so we've taken another second or so out of him, and Morton 7 ahead. So that was an 8.55, which is pretty good going considering we still got quite a lot of fuel. I think 8.53 is my best ever. 8.54 is a pretty quick time without much fuel, so that pace there, 8.55.1, was pretty good going. So with Morton up ahead, he will have just come out on completely fresh tyres. So we should be able to gain on him pretty
Going
quickly.
on the guy in front, the gap is 6.7. You've used half your fuel.
The fact that our tyres completely up to temp is a great thing for us. I'd imagine he probably has about the same amount of fuel, because I don't think he could have taken more. But yeah, the tyres, I think, even though he's got new tyres, the fact that it's going to take him quite a while to get them up to temperature really gives us a good chance to close this gap. So already we've got the gap down to 5.5, so really gaining on him. I imagine with his tyres not up to temp, all the places where we can carry lots of speed, such as Flukerplatz, we should just take huge chunks out of him. So yeah, this is looking good for a potentially challenging second place. I don't know about Gustus, he might be too far ahead, but let's give that a go as well. We took about 2 seconds or 2 or 3 seconds out of him last lap, I think, so yeah, there's a definite chance.
Okay, Paul, you're in the sky and the gap's now 4.7 seconds.
So we're sort of matching Gustus at the moment on pace, but Morton on his cold tyres, we're reeling him in really quick. So this is really great. There he is, I think I can see him. So that's the next GT4, it's the car I just saw, so yeah, let's see if we can catch him up. So interestingly, it looks like we just took a second out of Gustus as well. So not only are we catching Morton up ahead, but we're definitely catching Gustus. There's a question over whether our tyres will make it to the end, whether our fuel will even make it to the end. But right now, this looks like we're in the chase. Alright, down to 3.5 to Morton. So 3.4 to Morton, and we're just down to 11.8 to Gustus. So gaining on both. Fingers crossed we've got enough fuel. I don't know if we'll have to lift and coast. And yeah, I hope the tyres just hold out. Really gaining on him now. Okay, gap's down to 2.5. He should start seeing us, I think. Put him under pressure a bit.
You're in the sky. The gap's now 2.4.
Okay, gap's down to 2 seconds, so if we can get close enough, we might be able to get him on the long straight. Use his toe. We've also gained a little bit on Gustus. It's down to about 11 seconds, so it's good to see we're gaining on both. So it would have been best to be 1 second behind him, but currently 2 seconds, which probably isn't quite enough to get the full advantage of his toe. Ooh, tyres slightly giving up as well, sliding right over to the left. Just trying to see how much fuel we've got relative to the amount of race left. Not quite sure if we're going to make it or not.
The gap ahead is now 2.0 seconds. We're setting the pace. That last lap was at 8:55.4 seconds. You're 2/10 off the pace in sector 1.
So we're still putting in 8:55s, which is pretty good lap time considering the age of the tyres and still got fuel and stuff. So yeah, we're definitely gaining on them now. Got this guy down to 1.6. The only issue is that Morton's tyres might have finally started gripping, because it takes so long for the tyres to warm up. He might suddenly find some pace. Plus we've got to find a way past him. But we've gained on Gustus, so down to 9.5 seconds to him, 1.5 to Morton. So this is looking good. The car's feeling great, tyres feeling good. Hopefully they just hold on. Alright, here we come. Just maintaining that 1.1 seconds at the moment.
Alright Paul, you're gaining on the guy in front. The gap is 1.2 seconds.
That was massive.
Yeah, so Paul Smith, one of the few drivers who hadn't made a mistake or large mistake so far in this race, and even he has fell on this occasion. So I'm not sure if he's used his fast repair. Hopefully we see Smith back out on circuit, but he hasn't got a fast repair available. There's no way we will see him back out on track. Now this is looking good. Paul Joslin, who we haven't talked about too much. We remember him being in the fray for the race win earlier on when Grinbergas and Stergaard were fighting. However, Joslin with good pace recently is catching up. This is the battle for second place.
He is indeed, yeah. He was right at the front, as you say, and then just I don't know whether it was issues of his own or those around him. He seemed to lose touch a little bit, but he's back up behind Stergaard Velsen now, battling for this second place.
Right, we're right on him now. Time to try to get a bit of pressure, see if we can make him make a mistake. Obviously we don't want to make a mistake, but we're so on him, he'll see us in his mirror and he'll be feeling it, I think. So the gap down to Gustus ahead is 8.8, so we're definitely gaining on him. We just need to get past Morton and then hopefully we can get Gustus after. Oh, he's made a bit of a mistake there, he's gone a bit wide, so got an opportunity, not quite.
I think when maybe just wait for a mistake. I'm not quite sure. I think Dotnaho would be a good chance. However, with the pace that Jocelyn has got, might be able to catch up to Grinbergas. He was actually 3 seconds faster than Grinbergas on the last lap. Gap is 9 seconds at the moment to the GT4 leader. We've still got probably 3 or 4 more laps to go at the end of this one. Probably 3 more laps to go at the end of this one. So if he's quick, then he might even be able to challenge for the race win, which would be some comeback for Paul Joslin if he could manage it.
So at the moment I'm thinking if we can carry the speed onto the uphill, maybe I can get past up there. Just need to get a good exit out of the main sweeping corner. So got a bit of a run on him. The question is, can I get past? It's very narrow. He's probably not going to let me through. Need to try not to make a mistake either.
On your right.
Fortunately, just haven't got the pace to get past him here. I'm going to have to duck back in.
Well, now I'm locked down away from my rig, so I can't do any racing. Yeah, I'm able to broadcast, but I can't actually race. My rig even. Oh, someone off. What's that?
Oh, that's
the leader.
Grinberger. Bob, the lead.
Let me get a replay of that, and yeah, I'll continue with the fact that my rig is the other side of town, so can't get to it. COVID-19. Keeping my family safe by staying away from them. Oh dear. Not where you want to lose it.
That's a regular. It's an odd one, isn't it? Like, it's before he's got to the braking zone. He just got a bit of a wiggle on and just couldn't correct it quickly enough before hitting that braking zone. Oh, what a bad break! What a bad break for Grinbergas.
Okay, so second position. First is now ahead of us, and I think there's a definite chance here. Question is still whether we've got enough fuel or whether the tyres will make it to the end. But yeah, I think we've got to try to get past Morton, probably on the straight if we can. So his tyres will be a lot fresher than mine. They'll be up to temp now, so we might have a bit of an issue. He's sort of matching my pace now, really. Actually slightly pulling away. Oof, that was close.
Sorry, go on.
Well, I remember. I can't remember if it was the Cup class or the GT4 class earlier on, but we saw 2 leaders pulling away, and I did say it's not going to be simple, and that's certainly how it's turned out to be.
It just shows how quickly this track can bite you. It's unlike anything anywhere else. I mean, Bathurst is a challenge because it's all walled and it's some of the elevation changes, but this is the ultimate test in my eyes. I don't know whether you guys think the same, but this is the ultimate. This is if you can survive here for any amount of time, it's an achievement. Just doing 1 lap clean is an achievement, and the sense of relief whenever you see a checkered flag, regardless of the length of the race. You're relieved. You need to lie down. You need time to recover, even in the sim racing.
Quite frustratingly, I just couldn't get enough pace to get past him on that straight. So we're gonna have to try to get past him at some point in maybe the GP circuit. His pace definitely seems to be increasing now, so the sooner we can get past him, the better, I think. He's going defensive.
There's 20 minutes to go. 20 minutes.
I have to try to get the cut back.
Car right. Still there.
I'm not smart enough to be able to. Oh, Boucher goes for a spin at turn 1. Oh, the leaders of the GT4s getting round him, done the smart thing, just held his brakes, just waited for him. He's not under any immediate danger, so he didn't need to get back on the gas and get going again straight away.
So, trying to manage the GT3 class car that's just spun behind me.
Blue flag.
I wonder if we can just tuck behind him as he goes past.
Right.
See if we can get past him at the same time. Gonna put it up the inside.
Clear
I
left.
think we've got it.
Well done, Paul. Nice move, mate.
So I think that was quite fortunate, just because I think Morton's tyres probably are doing better than mine at the moment. And he was definitely, fending me off, so it'll be interesting to see whether we can get away now. Just need to get a good exit. Try to pull away. He's 0.4 behind.
Come on, don't make it easy for him. Make him go the long way around.
So he's going to definitely get a tow. So it looks like we've got a Porsche GT3 wanting to come past as well. Could be make it interesting. Hopefully I can keep him behind until we get to the main straight. Just trying to get away from Morton as much as possible. Okay, opened a bit of a gap. Looks like the GT3 Cup car's going past him. I know he's on me next, I think. Okay, hopefully this guy will just go past here. Leave a bit of a gap.
Left side.
There he goes.
Clear left.
That's good. I think we didn't lose any time there.
I think we may have had a change for the lead in the GT4 class with Stergaard getting past. Oh, sorry, Jocelyn getting past Stergaard.
We did while we were back. Let's do a replay of that.
It's on the GP circuit. And, this is going to look pretty simple, I think, going into Dunlop just puts his car down the inside. Maybe the GTD hovering him a little bit. And through goes Paul Johnson into the lead for the first time in a while. May have started ahead of Sturgard. He did start ahead of Sturgard, in fact, by quite a long way, but still quite early on, I think, did Johnson, but has got it back now into the lead, and that gap has already opened up to 1.4 seconds. There it is. Still got to keep it on the tarmac, still got to keep up a decent pace in order to win out, but looking very good right now for Paul Joslin to take this GT4 class.
Okay, just need to try to open this gap. If I can get 2 seconds or so, hopefully he won't be able to get in my toe at all. Equally, I don't really want to make a mistake, and I'm still managing my tyres and fuel. I'll be absolutely gutted if I run out of fuel on the last lap. That would completely ruin this race. Just increasing the gap to 2 seconds now, so just keep pushing. So even though it says I'm in second, I'm actually in first by now. It only updates when you cross the start finish line.
Oh, this is terrific. Exactly what we came here for. 15 minutes remaining, 15 minutes to go.
Fight there for that one, unfortunately. In the GT4s, we have Paul Joslin leading the way. We just seen him take the lead from Morton Sturgard Belston. Nice move down into the hairpin in the stadium section, and then Simon Rue Hassam, I should say. Sorry, excuse me. Running in P3 with a pretty comfortable lead over Lyndon Spady as it stands.
Okay, got to try not to make a mistake. Equally, I still have a bit of a concern about the fuel and my tyres. Ultimately, if my tyres drop off at the end, there could be trouble, and if obviously I run out of fuel, then it's game over. I have to actually pit again and we'll lose this position. So I want to try to pull away as much as possible, but at the same time, that's at the back of my mind. So gap's currently maintaining at 2.4 seconds.
Now, 2.5 seconds.
The gap's actually reduced a little bit there, went down to 2.2 seconds, which means that Morton actually gained a bit on me. Just got to be a bit careful of that. The race is not over yet, and yeah, if my tyres go off, he's got a chance to claw this back. So gap's 2.3, so he's gained slightly. It's a little bit worrying. Try to get a good exit out of here. So this just goes to show when you're racing around a Nurburgring, anything can happen, especially in endurance races. The fact that we started second, got up to first, crashed, ended up last, and then have like pushed all the way through back to first. It's pretty remarkable we're in this position now. I think we got lucky that hopefully at least the fuel will be enough to get us to the end. I think if I crashed any sooner we would have been in trouble. So I'm not quite sure how many laps really we've got. I feel like we might actually have this lap and then another lap, which is going to make the fuel situation very tight. Morton's still staying within range, about 2.6 seconds behind, so got to be careful with the tyres and try to stay up on the pace, not give him a chance to catch back up.
This is great. Come on, keep nailing those exits. 10 minutes remaining, 10 minutes.
It's actually down to 2.4 seconds now, so he has gained a bit again. It's a little bit concerning. He
behind us now, 2.5.
Definitely trying really hard to catch up, and his tyres will be fresher. He will be in a better position than us. Just managed to pull a bit away from him there. Thankfully, we haven't had to deal with too much traffic in this race. That's kind of where the biggest risks come from, is dealing with the other cars, but I've been quite fortunate. So Delta is green, meaning this lap is really good at the moment. Despite that, Morton is still hanging in there. Quite a bit of understeer through that. I think these tyres are just starting to give up. I always find this is probably the worst part for me. You've got a lead, you've got the win kind of in your grasp, and your mind starts to drift a little bit as the car drifts very wide off the apex. And yeah, just when you have that lapse of concentration, it's where you can completely lose it and throw it away. Just need to focus. Morton's closed the gap back down to about 3 seconds again, so he was at about 3.5. He's definitely not giving up. Car's pushing a bit wide.
Is now 3.3.
So his tyres are now shot.
That's 5 minutes remaining. We can win this.
Okay, looks like we've got a GT3 class car coming up. I'll have to let him through at some point. Hopefully it won't impact us too much.
Blue flag.
Can't really think of a good place to let him past around here. Looks like he's going to try to go for it. And we have to
Left side.
back off. This could be...
Clear left.
That could have been really bad if he'd hit us. So, worth just losing a bit of time. I think Morton behind us actually lost a bit of time as well. So, not the end of the world. Okay, so I'm hoping next lap is the last lap. I think we only have a couple of minutes left, which means that we should get shown the white flag as we come across the line. I don't have enough fuel for 2 more laps. I barely have enough fuel for 1 lap. I think it's about 12 litres a lap. So if this ends up 2 laps, then we're going to run out of fuel. If it's 1 lap, we might just be able to get it home. So let's see if we get the white flag as we cross the line.
Just 2 minutes left, 2 minutes to go. Come on, Paul, 1 more lap. Keep it together. We'll win this.
Okay,
Very
so
little fuel left.
we've been
We're
given
quickest at the moment.
the white flag. That does mean only 1 lap left, which is good. But the fuel is tight. I don't think we're going to have much by the end. Also, the tyres have been out here a long time. I think they've done probably about 11 laps. So quite worn. And hopefully the car won't slide off the track and rob us of the win. Morton is still there. He's 4 seconds behind, so if we make a single mistake, he'll be ready to pounce. He's 4 seconds behind at the moment, which is plenty, but equally, if we make a mistake, not enough. Right over to the edge there. Felt like that was just going a bit wide there. That could have been on the grass and the race would have been over. Just got to be careful on this last lap. Could be thrown away so easily. Okay, so we're coming up to a slower car here. Hopefully we just get past him. Whew, that was not a good place to have a car. Just trying not to take any risks now. It looks like we might have another GT3 class car coming. Hopefully he's going to be sensible in the way that he gets past. Just really would... Oh god, just as I run a bit wide, really would hate to be taken out this last moment. Morton nearly 6 seconds behind, it's probably just worth letting him past. Okay, which side's he trying to go past?
Car right. Clear right.
Okay, nice. He's through. And that didn't really impact us at all. We can get a little toe off him. Oof. Slightly caught the curb there. So I've got the low fuel warning light on. Fingers crossed we got enough though. It's been a hard 2 hours, but at no point did I think that I'd be in this position when I had my accident earlier. Thought that was probably the race over originally. Obviously got lucky with the pitch strategy, just working in my favour. But yeah, just shows it's worth not giving up when you're on the Nurburgring endurance races. Not too far to go now, so take some of these bits of it easy, lift off over here.
Now 6.2 seconds.
So we've only got 4 litres of fuel left, so I'm really hoping this is enough to get us to the finish line. Otherwise I'm going to be absolutely gutted. I'm not expecting to make a mistake on the straight, but I'm certainly watching that fuel level going down. Just need to be careful with this braking, and then only a couple of corners to the end.
Jocelyn comes across the line, just behind. Here he is. And he will win in the GT4 category. Congrats to Paul Jocelyn. Only 6.5 seconds clear of Storygart in the end. You pushed him all the way. It was a late move for Jocelyn, only about 20 minutes remaining when he made the move, but had enough time in the end. Here is Heusinkveld, and he will finish on the podium in 3rd place, very under the radar as well. Was Simon Raw, who haven't seen him too many battles, but once again, very clean kart there. And the 55 machine rounds out the GT4 podium at Nurburgring.
So the only thing left is some victory burnouts. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. It's always good to get a win. And please subscribe and like the video if you haven't. Thanks everybody.